What does it mean? Communication. If appearance is contentious and if behavior is a doozy, then communication is absolutely combative, contentious. It's where the fight happens. It is the fight, contains the fight, the rules of the fight. Okay, let's look at this. Communication. C is for communication. And that is Google's definition. Google's bland definition here, right? The imparting or exchanging of information or news, means of sending or receiving information such as phone lines or computers. A search engine or an AI or a robot probably would say that. So, as I mentioned, the medium, or in a certain sense of the form, is the arena or the place in which the communication happens. And then what's communicated is the information. But then there's a question of what information, who's sending it, and why. We have it, communication. C is for communication. And I have it defined here as a crucial skill and art, right? Because communication isn't just the words we utter, whether that's asking for something, demanding something, requesting something, delineating something, setting a boundary, removing a boundary, whatever it is we're communicating. It's more than just the ability to make sounds. It's more than the ability to just replicate what one has previously heard. Bonus note, listening is as important a skill as communication. And I would say that listening is part and parcel and a prerequisite for communicating, especially in a way people can understand, because first you have to understand them so you can then speak to them, right? This is context, this is culture, this is language, this is meaning through the words that we use to communicate anything from our emotional state to whatever it is. But in this case, I wrote listening is as important as, and I would rather, instead of that, I would say listening is as important a skill as the ways in which one communicates. Meaning, so of course, listening, looking, paying attention matters, but what also matters is discerning and understanding. Is that Wikipedia has a more interesting, immediate, or imminent definition. Wikipedia says, communication is commonly defined as the transmission of information. Its precise definition is disputed. I want to stop right there. Says who? Stop resisting. What are you hiding? What do you mean it's disputed? No, it's not. Isn't it clear what I mean, what they mean, what he means, what she means, what the authorities mean, what the government means, what anyone means at any given time? No, it's never clear to anyone because everyone's coming from limited perspective, limited linguistics, limited training and education, limited world experience. It doesn't matter where they come from. Everyone has limitations, right? So everyone's left dealing with those. Moving on. And there are disagreements about, there are disagreements? No, there's not. No, stop disagreeing. Stop resisting. Okay, so there are disagreements about whether unintentionally or failed transmissions are included. You mean rejected? You mean, are people upset that what they want is rejected? Is that what we're saying? No, stop resisting. Okay, so unintentionally or failed transmissions are included, right? Because think of marketing and advertising. What's the excuse if your product or your service doesn't sell? If you brought your product or service to the market in whatever ways you could best configure and conceive, and it doesn't sell, that tells you something about the audience, right? That maybe you had the right thing, but you marketed it wrong. Maybe the thing never should have existed in people's eyes. But this is the whole thing, is that we could argue about the fact that should it have existed or not. That's what we're really breaking things down to. It should, it shouldn't, do or don't, right? Ride or die. So there are disagreements about whether unintentional or failed transmissions, no there's not, are included, and whether communications not only transmits meanings but also creates it. And I made it plural there when I read it, but not only transmits meaning but also creates it. The creation was done beforehand, the transmission comes after the fact. The fact that no one else can see the thought process is kind of secondary to the fact that for us, again, I've said it before, appearance is reality. We just see a picture, we make a judgment. I assume that rubber hose is a snake. Not because I'm intelligent, but because I did the snake dance because I freaked out when I saw it. And then again, you can see that through this very medium, people say it is or it isn't. No, it's not. It's right or it's wrong. The idea that there is a failed transmission, I guess we could think about it from the perspective of nature. When a bird sings its song, what's it doing? It's trying to attract things similar to a flower and a bee. Something to the birds and the bees, huh? So you could say the transmission does create it because an author or an artist or a person or a politician might have an intentional saying. One, they might gaff the words and then completely change the meaning of what they said. Two, someone else might hear what they say, but not all words and interpretations or ability to understand and then also translate and communicate. Again, none of these things are equal in us. So when we all have different tools of sensing, seeing, understanding, we come from different places and contexts, it just becomes infinitely more complicated. And the fact that we have more communication than ever only speaks to the confusion and chaos of it. That in fact, more signal is more noise, is more static. It's harder to discern meaning from the static. If we go to our footnote here on this idea that communication, its precise definition is disputed. No, it's not. Right. Communication is the dispute, the fight, and its arena, i.e. in real time. And when things get real, when birds stop singing and start sizing up, like if you could think of a peacock spreading its feathers, it's quite the display. Yes, it's to attract a sexual mate, but it's also, it's scary to other animals who go, what is this, thousand-eyed monster that just popped up in front of me? They don't understand. So that's the power of, if we go back to behavior and appearance, right, that the symbols of power are still power. What are you going to do about it? See, you can't think you won now. See, he's going to think he won. He's going to think he won the fight and that he's tough. Oh, you're not. I'm not scared of you. Which is why language means so much, because it's representative of what we call anything from virtues to values. So communication is the dispute, the fight, the arena in real time. Remember what we've been discussing previously regarding persuasion, the difference between marketing and sales, i.e. this is all interpretation of the one doing the interpreting. But there's no dispute. Yes, there is. Communication's very existence and context, that of social animals regulating their survival, is for the purpose of creating, transmitting, and interpreting meaning through perspective, language, tones, signs, and symbols, or force, power, and violence, right? And people might say, that seems dramatic, or that's hyperbole, or what are you talking about, right? Civics. So the criminal asks, what did I do wrong? What? I thought this was America. I thought this was America. And then the authority says, ignorance is no excuse for the law, or whatever the imposed reality is. So you go into any situation and people might put on a nice facade or front, but now we're getting lost in the finer points of civics. So let's bring it back to art and children. Like, the point is that these things speak back to us. And then what are they communicating? Because the children in turn are creating a record of what they've seen and what they've interpreted. And then there's questions of, does anyone listen? But no one sticks around forever to call you wrong or to say you're wrong anyway, right? So what do the older generations have to say to the younger generations? It's a serious question. They speak back to us. So if someone were to ask me as an image consultant, as a professional, as a friend, a lover, a husband, a father, a brother, if someone were to ask me in any fashion, why then does communication matter? It matters because it doesn't just create and secure our present as individuals and collectives, but it also secures our future. I wanted to end on the idea of that what we create forever speaks back, and it speaks back. the very act of speaking back and all these things is the arena, is part of the arena. And there will always be new contenders. There will always be new children. There will always be old contenders. There will always be older children. So, in terms of whatever it is you might need to navigate all these complex communications or improve your communication or learn how to speak to anyone or improve your reading and writing or learn to speak on public or on camera or whatever it is, right? Whatever these things might be, that I, Zach Morkowski here at Sharper Pen Image Consulting, can definitely help you with these things. So far I've been working with very personalized programs for people, because people are so individualistic and so different. This has been my approach with increasingly, by practice and time and research, increasingly systematized approaches and methods, but a plethora of options in your arsenal. Again, thank you for your time. If you're my audience, I love you, and shun the non-believers. Have a great night. Take care. Bye.
What are you going to do about it? See, you can't think you won now. See, he's going to think he won.
Shun the non-believer! Shun!